Hello everyone and welcome to another Starcraft 2 video. For this one we're doing a tutorial video for my TvZ build specifically on Blood Boil. It's a really cool build where it's super greedy to go to 4 bases and then you just completely murder your opponent with Hellbats and Ravens. And I don't think I've ever lost in a late game. So yeah, it's that strong. So it's going to start with a depot as your natural ramp, and then the gas as soon as you can afford it. Now this SCV that builds your depot, just have them go hang out by the gold, because your next structure is going to be a command center at the gold. Now this gold is super OP. It's got 8 mineral patches, so it's like a regular base instead of 6. As soon as the command center is down, you want to build a barracks. And then when you're at 21 to 23, you want to send your nest SCV to build the engineering bay, which is the perfect timing. Once you're fully saturated at home, you can send your nest SCV out to the side because he's going to build your next structure. And this whole bunch of things you need to build as soon as this barracks finishes. You want to build a marine, orbital, factory, then a planetary fortress, then a bunker, and then your second gas. And you'll have more or less enough money for that. PF, bunker, and second gas. When the PF's about done, you can send workers out here. Now Zerglings will arrive, not in time to cancel the SCV building this, but in time to harass this SCV. So just run it away, and don't send workers over here until the PF is done, because this always gets spotted by the Overlord every game. Never go unscouted. If he sends a lot of Zerglings over here, like 6 or more, then you'll want to grab workers and send it over, because if he sends 6, there could be another 6 behind that and another 6 behind that, and he might be able to kill the planetary before it completes. And since it's such a long distance from your base, you'll want to send workers early to repair. That's the only time I'd send the workers early. Now when the factory's done, you want to build a tech lab and a starport. Yeah, something happened with my gas. But if you build a tech lab and a starport, when the tech lab's done, you'll almost have enough for a siege tank. But I guess this is fine too. Maybe tech lab, siege tank, and then once you have 100 gas, build your starport. Either or. And then with the factory, you build a siege tank, and with the starport, you're going to build a Viking. I'll talk more about how to defend certain things afterwards, but this is stuck to the build order for now. So that's how we're spending our gas. How we're spending our minerals is just non-stop SCV production and going up to 5 command centers. So we build our 3rd command center here. Depot to finish this backup wall off after the bunker. Bunker worker builds this. Anyways, then a 3rd command center, then a 4th command center, and then a 5th command center. And after that, we want to start taking all the gas geysers. Starting here, where you're already oversaturated, and these two. Once you got your refineries down, you want to go double armory. Populate the refineries when they're done. And after double armory, I mean, it depends how much you're worried about mutalisks. You can just build a whole bunch of missile turrets first. You can be building widow mines during this time if you want. Or you can just get your production first if you think your opponent's more likely to go Roach Ravager. Yeah, we'll say you get a missile turrets at all your bases, and then start adding on production. And for production, you're going to want 3 factories, 2 with reactors and 1 with a tech lab, and 5 or 6 starports. And we're prioritizing upgrades in the armory above everything else. As you get production, you're going to start wanting to add a ton of depots as well, because you're going to blow through your, you're going to spend a lot on supply once this production gets going. And it's also probably a good time to throw it on your 5th command center. Or your 6th, I guess, for your 5th base. Corvid reactor as soon as you have a tech lab starport, and blue flame as soon as you have a tech lab factory. You can build a few widow mines first if you want to. It's nice for certain positions. That's probably a lot of workers who just died there. 24, yikes. Yeah, I like high ground in the shroud there. Protects your watchtower and prevents your opponent from taking his. You actually put a worker in the shroud, which is nice. It can't be seen, and it takes the watchtower. Yeah, but other than that, you're just basically pumping Hellions nonstop, pumping Ravens nonstop, and with your leftover minerals, just pump command centers and prioritizing your upgrades. And you usually have around 1-1, close to or at 2-2 upgrades by the time you're ready to start pushing. And the way we push is we send Hellbats around the edge of the screen. Send like Hellions over to here, turn them into Hellbats, and then have them roll up this way. Or send Hellions over here, turn them into Hellbats, and have them roll up this way, to the back. And when your Hellbats are attacking, your Ravens can attack somewhere else. So maybe attack this bit to your Hellbats, and at the same time run your Ravens up this way to attack this. Mineral Bank is going to get pretty crazy at this point in the game. So just throw down command centers and command centers, command centers. Throw command centers in your base to float out, and then throw them on the bases as well, because you have the money to spare. So we have some Hellions, Hellbats going in the back, Hellions came in the front. And we can go to our opponent's perspective. You can see how crazy it is for him. You basically keep him defending at all times, because you're always sending out Hellions. With your factory, you want it like fully loaded. Factory is like loaded right to the brim, queued up right to the brim. I say with Hellions. If he's not on the defense, then he's just going to get overrun by this harass. And if he is on the defense, then you're constantly expanding unharassed. Meanwhile, he's like slowly running out of steam. Well, his bases will start running out of stuff. He'll start slowly losing his unit count. He's losing bases and definitely not taking new bases. But Hellions can always be on the offensive. Ravens sometimes you need to keep them back to defend, depending on what you're up against. You might want a few more Widow Mines if you're up against Stormhost like I am. This is a kind of a common composition versus mech. Roach, Hydra, Infestor, Swarmhost. And that's an example of me throwing out command centers everywhere. I was like, maybe if I just put 4 planetaries in one of his bases, he won't be able to take it. During this time, you can see in the mini-map I've got a Sense Tower there, which means I've taken that base, and taken this base, and I've taken this base. And I'm still not spending through my minerals well. This is where he goes a little bit more on the offense. So he's taking out a couple of my bases, but by having all these roaches out in the field, all of a sudden it's a lot harder for him to defend the Hellbat harass going on at home. I was able to kill all the workers as natural with my ravens as well. If he's attacking, you can defend with your ravens, or you can just use your ravens for even more base trading. But it's just so strong. It's just like non-stop 3-3 Hellbats and a Raven count that is basically as large as you want it to be. You can completely max on Ravens. I like to leave some supply so I can always be sending out Hellbat harass. Also because I feel like possibly the only way I could lose at this point in the game is if I walk into a parasitic bomb or something, so let's not set myself up for that. And you can see I'm not microing my Hellbats at all. Just letting them do their thing. They're a pretty good A move unit. More or less got rid of his infestor count. Figured I could be pretty ballsy there since he'd throw out so many infested Terrans. Didn't think he had many fungals left. And you can see even taking those losses, I still have more planetaries, and I guess I only have 805 minerals. He killed a lot of workers this game of mine. Killed 113 workers. If you're staying on defense, you're gonna have a huge mineral problem. Maybe just filling this whole bottom area with orbitals would be a good idea. And that would allow you to you know, throw away 40 workers because you can replace them with mules, and frees up more supply for ravens and hellbats. So let's go back and talk about the specifics of this build. First thing we'll talk about, we'll talk about the various attacks that can come. So this command center, when you build it, it's always going to be scouted. Zerglings will not be able to prevent this SCV from completing this unless he 12 pooled and built a Zergling right away. But he would have to do that without, like, the Overlords wouldn't have been here in time. So you'd have to blindly be building 12 pool Zergling. Which would suck. If it cancels it around now, you're probably lost the game. If it cancels it later, you can bring some workers out and get the job done. Now, it will always be scouted. You did a weird path to the second Overlord, but usually the first two Overlords even scout it. So this SCV will often get hit by Zerglings before the PF finishes. So you have to be mindful of that and get ready to run it away. If 2 Zerglings come here, not a big deal. If he comes here with like 8 Zerglings, then you probably want to pull workers to repair this and make sure the PF finishes. Because where 8 isn't a threat, 16 is, and you don't know what's coming behind the 8. There could be more coming. And since it's such a long distance for your SCVs to run out of your base up here and along here to repair, that anytime you see 8+, I think you should send workers out here. Anyways, when the planetary is finished, you do want to transfer workers at that point. I think transferring anywhere between 8 to 10 is probably a good number. You want to transfer a good amount because there's this OP base with 8 gold patches, which is more than the standard 6. Maybe even 12 workers. Yeah. And then once the PF's done, it's pretty invulnerable up to a certain point. As for this base, the front line, you want to build the wall off in this manner. Notice that the top of the engineering bay cuts through the halfway point of the depot, and that's important because we want to leave a gap for a backup wall. This space right here is super important because if this bunker is flush against the depot, then if 5 bailings roll in, it blows up the depot and the bunker at the same time. And we want to make this bailing bust proof. So the way it's set up now, it takes 10 bailings, 5 to get through here, another 5 to get through here, or 12 to go through the hinge bay itself. I think. 850. 11. Like 14 for that. Yeah, as soon as the barracks is done, we're pumping Marines nonstop up to 4, and we're queuing them down here. This is another problem. I don't think any Zerg player would ever send their Zerglings initially this direction, so you usually get more than enough time to take these rocks down. Oh, as I say that, one game it might have actually happened. And then into the bunker. Now, the factory and the starport are important. The factory, obviously having a siege tank here, and with the weak points being the 2 depots, this helps a lot against bailing bust. If it's Ravager cheese, it's also nice. The bunker buys you some time. The wall off buys you some time. The siege tank buys you some time. And then, had I built the starport at the time I built the factory, I can also swap the starport onto the tech lab as soon as the siege tank's done. And where Ravagers can hang out here and shoot the corrosive bile and take out the siege tank, it's not easy for them because we do have the high ground, so they need vision, and then there's all this dead space. So I don't know. This makes it a little bit more difficult, which is nice. Sometimes they'll even try to dig through like the barracks or the hinge bay. Usually probably the barracks, I guess. And so if they come into your base through this direction, the siege tank stays relevant throughout. Yeah, but Ravager cheese will be able to break in as long as you get the Banshee out. You'll be fine because the Banshee ends it pretty quickly. If you can, try to replace this wall behind you though if they come in. Just because like a flood of Zerglings behind it could be an issue. Early Zergling drop can be a problem. What I would suggest is putting a blind missile turret here, like I did this game. Actually, probably 1 notch higher right there would be better. Because it almost always comes in from here. You can see if an Overlord's hanging out there. Maybe take a worker and just tap this watchtower. Or come hang out, being a worker up here to here, see if you see any Overlords. If you see a lot of Zerglings early on that didn't die, that's a tip-off that you might be going for a drop play. Or you can just always put missile turret here. It only puts you 100 minerals behind. It's not a big deal. But yeah, if he decides to start ferrying troops down here, then you just die. But that's like never happened to me. Pretty rare. Yeah, and then obviously once the Viking's out, you first use that to clear the Overlords out from around your base, which is pretty good defense against late drop play or early Nidus Swarm play. This factory, as soon as it's done being the siege tank, you may want to throw a reactor on it and have it start building Widow Mines. Because Widow Mines are nice versus Roach Ravager or against Mutalisk. That's something you can consider putting out there. But yeah, that's about it for the early defense, right? Is this 4 Marines, siege tank, and a Viking. And that's it for quite a while. Because you don't build your production for a while, especially if you build a turret ring. Or build missile turrets in general. But yeah, we start with the armories because we're super greedy and get those upgrades going. But once this production kicks in, literally 100% win rate. And it's not like like it is super greedy, but it's not like we can't even hold certain all-ins. Like I do die. Like anytime I've lost to this build, obviously it's been in the early game. Oh, this is so painful. How many workers I have there? It's so oversaturated. Yeah, despite that, this game still went crazy well. What else was I gonna say? Viking, yeah, have it kind of clear around your base, maybe like back there, and then have it patrol the edge of the screen. Like maybe from like here, down, down, up, and across. It's nice. That's often, these are places where overlords hang out. It's often places they'll send overlords later in the game. It's often places where the Viking won't die to Mutalisk. And it's clearing out the path of your Hellions, right? So if you had like an overlord hanging out here, every time I send my Hellions up this right side, he'll be able to see them and prepare and like be waiting for me by the time I reach this base. Which isn't that big of a deal, but it's still nice to take away map vision. And that's about it. I don't know my exact stats on this map, but I would say it's well over 60%, probably over 70%. The majority of the time I'm on this map versus Zerg, I'm winning, right? Because if I do lose, it's a quick loss. And I do stupid things, like sometimes I forget to turn this into a planetary, and then Zerglings arrive, I'm like, oh, I never made a planetary. But that's just Ketroc things. We can load up one other game. Because I thought of making this tutorial because I just played a game using this build. Watch this one. I guess as a reminder too. Depot, immediate gas, and command center, barracks, engineering bay. And when barracks finishes, you want to make it marine production, orbital, factory, planetary, bunker, second gas. Siege tank, the Viking, your overlords, which there are none. Oh, I lied. There's one. Oh, there's two. Wow, really hidden on the minimap. Then take all the gas geysers. Go up to 5 command centers. Then take all the gas geysers. Then the armories. Start upgrades immediately. The turret ring, and then throw down all your production, which is 5 or 6 starports, 3 factories. Remember to get Corvid reactor. Remember to get your engineering bay upgrades, which I don't think I got. I got auto tracking all game. And remember to get blue flame. I like blue flame. It's hard to ever forget that because as soon as you see your Hellions fire, you're like, oh yeah, one color. Where I never see my auto turrets, like, oh yeah, they're shooting at 6 range instead of 7. Like bailing bond my planetary there. But we reached that point in the game, right? Production's going. All that's on the field. And even though you can deal with them pretty well with bailings, like, that was just crushed. It's still trading gas for a mineral unit, which I like. And he still loses something, even though he trades well. Bailings are like a temporary answer until he gets tier 3 tech, because he doesn't have roaches. So Bailings are like a not so good answer, and if I keep forcing him to use Bailings for that, then I'm forcing him to spend gas on stuff he doesn't want to. Or he might just run out of Bailings altogether and not have an answer, and have to run a bunch of speedlings into Hellbats, or even Hydras aren't that great versus Hellbats. They'll range them and they can kite them, but when there's lots going on, they often don't kite the Hellbats. They just start getting wrecked. There's the Ultras. He was going Greater Spire. I think that's what this Ford Spores were about. He wanted to start sieging. Against that, just make sure you have the Seeker Missile upgrade. You can continue to use your Hellbats offensively, since Broodlords are so immobile, and then just defend with Seeker Missile. Or Auto Turret in a pinch. That's why the base didn't die. Blew his army over top. Deflected off most of his army there, which is good, which means my Hellbats are actually getting a lot of work done during that time. Oh. You can see how strong this is, and like 3/3 Hellbats are no joke. Even without any micro. It's not just distracting and something he has to deal with, but they do damage too. You see if he's not microing the mutas, he's actually losing mutas. Just scan there. Another thing you can do is anytime you see the Hellbats on the minimap enter creep, just throw down a scan on the creep and then you can get all the front tumors. Just going after some creep tumors, I guess, here. Holding that, you can see the Hellbats are still going at it, and that's GG. So that's an opponent who had a really strong economy. But it's really taking advantage of this map. And basically what you're doing is you're playing this map like a Zerg, since this map is so Zerg favored. You're using the fact that the map is so wide open and so many different attack paths, and so big. Really favors mobile harass. And that's what you're doing with the Hellions, just sending them out and harassing, hitting from multiple angles. And I think it becomes really... It's not just like, it's not expected from a mech player, right? You think, oh, he's building planetaries and ravens, he's just going to turtle and sit there forever, right? And then if you build an immobile composition yourself, things like swarm hosts or broodlords, you're just going to get picked apart by the non-stop attacking. And with Hellbats always attacking, it really helps you know where his army is too. The only thing you gotta be careful of is if his army's responding to something and he's not doing the select all army hotkey. So, say my Hellbats are attacking here and he goes after it with his roaches and hydras, but you don't see his vipers, then you gotta think, well, where's his vipers, right? So normally I would attack here with the Hellbats and at the same time fly my ravens in and crush this base with auto turrets. But always be mindful of vipers. If he didn't respond to a Hellbat harass with vipers, which he shouldn't, but most Zergs would, and then you gotta keep your eye pinned for them. Throw down a scan before you enter. I just feel like it's a lose-lose situation for my opponent once I get to this point in the game. If he stays back and tries to handle these attacks, Sorry, I was reading the message. If he stays back and tries to handle these attacks, then his bases are slowly going to start mining out. His army is slowly being dwindled away by my attacks. And I'm going completely unharassed, right? I'm just keep taking more and more bases, like even start taking his bases because I'll be floating so many minerals. If he does come at me and try to deal damage to my bases, then my Hellbats just go absolutely nuts. They just like start shredding bases because his whole army is way out of position. Basically lose-lose. That's the way I look at it. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm going like Planetary Raven. For some reason, a lot of Zerg players build immobile compositions on a map that's not really built for immobile compositions. This is a map that's built for like fast, speedy units. Then all of a sudden you'll see a Zerg is like, I'm just gonna go all Corruptors and Broodlords. Like, great. You got Broodlords sieging one planetary, which I'm repairing. Meanwhile, I'm killing everything in the background. And I can eventually clean this up too, once I get the Seekers going. In terms of first world problems, this is often one where I'm like, I'm full on supply, and you got to consider that you want to maintain available supply for Hellions. Like, you want at least 40 supply for Hellions. So basically every time these Hellbats die, I'm replenishing them with more, even though I have the gas bank to build just to max out on Ravens. And I think that's important, because normally in any other game it'd be, man, the two graphics. Hybrid graphics settings doesn't work very well anymore. Normally I'm a proponent of just like spending all your gas on Ravens as the majority of your supply. But here I think the Hellbats are really important, and when you're at a point in the game like this, probably the only way you can die is running all your Ravens into a Parasig bomb like an idiot. So maybe you don't want to go up to 60 Ravens, just in case that happens. Adding on more production might be a smart idea. Maybe going up to like 5 or 6 factories just so you can create the new waves quicker. Adding more starports, so in case you do lose a bunch of Ravens, you can replenish them quickly. Spending this mineral bank on a ton of command centers. Like, build command centers in your base to float out, build command centers on location, because why not? You got the minerals. They got cancelled or destroyed, no big deal. And then build a whole bunch of orbitals in the back. And the nice thing about building a whole bunch of orbitals is you can dump some of this, which it seems unnecessary. And drop maybe 40 supply worth of workers off and just use mules for mining. Which means you can up your Raven count and still maintain your Hellbat harass, or go harder on the Hellbat harass. But I call this a first world problem because once you get to this point in the game, you've kind of won no matter what, so your issues are like, oh man, I'm maxed out all the time, I can't spend my money. You're probably doing okay. Don't have to consider that a problem. But yeah, that's the build, boys. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'm out of here. Goodbye.